I think I just saw my movie of the year, and it was a Godzilla movie. Look, I've been a Godzilla connoisseur, or Godzilla dinosaur, whatever you want to say, ever since I was a little kid. One of my biggest fandoms was a kid. I had all kinds of like Godzilla figures. I had like one that was like 3 foot tall that walked at it from Toys R Us, and it broke, and I was pretty upset about that. I'm kind of going off on a rant here, but let's talk about Godzilla Minus One. I don't want to get into the spoilers too much here at the beginning, but what I do want to tell you, this movie, well written, the action on a $15 million budget made one of the best movies of the year. Like, all the big major studios, take note, because this movie has the acting, it has the story, it has the monster, obviously. What does the price of war mean to an individual? What does it mean to a group of people? How can people come together to take advantage or overcome an obstacle? This movie gives you all of that in the form of Godzilla being that obstacle. You get the atomic breath, which I'm going to get into that more after we get into the spoiler talk, but the atomic breath is the best atomic breath I've seen in any Godzilla movie. We get all the classic scenes. We get callbacks to the 1954 Godzilla movie. 54, right? Anyway, we get callbacks to the original Godzilla. We get all of the best. We get plot strategies to take out Godzilla that just simply make you just be like, yeah, why didn't they think of that in like the legendary movies? And look, I'm a big fan of all the legendary like Godzilla films. They are amazing. They give you everything you want. Godzilla fighting monsters. This movie is literally like if Godzilla and Jaws had a baby and it was even better. Is that controversial to say that this movie's better than Jaws? Jaws is anyway, to me it was. To be a movie this amazing on a $15 million budget and have it look as incredible as it does. Look, Godzilla looks like real, like if animatronic, honestly, it looks that good. It doesn't even look CGI. Like the water scenes in this movie really sell it. Godzilla is obviously incredible in the water. That's a place where he really like takes on ships, things like that. Well, in this movie, the water scenes like just fully captivates you and like takes you in. When Godzilla's chasing a boat, like you feel really into this. And the best compliment I could say about this movie is it feels like a street level Godzilla movie, if that makes sense. As in like you feel like you're looking up at Godzilla and Godzilla is right there and you can feel every power of his step. Like when he's taking steps, you can see the ground raising and cracking. It's just, they take into account like the physics of Godzilla in a way that you wouldn't see before. And it just all comes together so beautifully. Okay, I think we're going to get into a little bit of spoilers here. I'm going to talk about some of the details in the movie that really make it stand out as one of my favorite movies of all time. Not only favorite Godzilla movie, but literally one of my favorite movies of all time. Our main character is a kamikaze pilot, and he lands on the island Odo, and essentially he lands there because he has faulty tech on his plane that he's wanting to get checked out. In reality, that's not the case, but what he wants to do is not have himself be killed at the very end of World War II. This movie takes place at the very end of World War II, and he doesn't want to have that. And we have a really great moment between him and the mechanic that's like, you know, I kind of know what you did. And he's like, what are you insinuating here? And obviously we know, like, you don't want to die. You're young. And it was just really interesting to see him, you know, take that step, land there, and, you know, other people see it, but they're also like, I mean, I kind of get it. Well, this character has the opportunity to, you know, whether like it was his duty in the military to do that or not. Well, Godzilla shows up on a much smaller scale, mind you, shows up and he's like wreaking havoc and killing soldiers and things like that. Well, the thing about it is that what's really interesting, they tell him to go get in his ship. Like your guns in that ship will take care of Godzilla. They'll take care of whatever this thing is attacking. And he runs and gets in the ship and he freezes. He's not able to do it because obviously Godzilla looks at him and he's like scared and like, who would have the like courage to do that? It would be a really hard thing to do because obviously he's going to be put in the same situation. He's probably going to die because Godzilla's going to swipe at you, right? Well, he doesn't take the shot, and everybody there on that besides him and like one other person, the mechanic from the beginning, die. And he lives with that all throughout the rest of the movie. Like, what does it mean? Am I even supposed to be alive? Like, what does my life mean because I couldn't do this? Is death going to come back to haunt him? That's what he's thinking this whole movie. He meets a girl who has a kid that was given to her through the air raids because the mom passed away, and he kind of has like a family that he never says anything to about this. And like, he doesn't break down any of his life. He doesn't think like, what am I worthy of like happiness in this moving forward? And they build a whole life together without actually building a life together. And because his life is kind of on pause here. So he takes on a couple dangerous jobs to then make meat for the family that he has that he doesn't want to call like his family, but it really is. So he's taking dangerous jobs to disassemble mines, and that's where Godzilla comes back. And Godzilla has been amped up from like nukes. Like Godzilla is Godzilla now, if you know what I'm saying. Like huge. Anyway, we see all kinds, like a really cool like boat chasing scene where like Godzilla is coming after the boat, and it looks so good. Like, I can't get over how real he looked with the water falling off of him. We see Godzilla get like a mine put in his mouth, and the mine gets blown up in his mouth, and Godzilla regenerates. So that's something new about this Godzilla. He regenerates super fast. And it's like, how do you even stop this? And we also see Godzilla's first atomic breath in this movie. There's like a bigger ship that comes through, and Godzilla shoots his atomic breath through, and it like nukes the bit, like literally, like, I mean, we've already said this is spoilers, but spoiler alert, this Godzilla's atomic breath is like nukes. It's not even like just, it has like fire, obviously, and when it hits what it contacts, it just nukes. And we have a really cool scene later on where he like shoots his atomic breath, and it hits something off in the distance and wipes the, like, recoil wipes out an entire city. Like, and when I tell you, you feel this, you feel it. I saw it in IMAX, and oh my goodness. Well, anyway, what makes this so important is this Godzilla movie, you really care for the characters that are involved. Like a lot of times in Godzilla movies and kaiju movies, you're like, when is the next kaiju showing up? Well, in this movie, you're like really thinking about the characters and kind of what they're going through and them formulating a strategy that can take out Godzilla. Because in this movie, a big plot point for this is, well, like the Japanese government, the US government, they're not doing what we need to do. So the citizens are going to take into hands, like, what can we do to stop this thing? And they come up with a really cool, like, formulated strategy to sink Godzilla with Freon bubbles. And then if that doesn't work, make him fly back up, and like, so the compression and the, like, of the sea, like, destroy, like, anyway, it weakens him. So many cool things. So anyway, you can tell I'm like super excited about this movie. So anyway, it comes full redemption arc for our main character. We're supposed to be a suicide bomber who ran away. Well, anyway, he finds that mechanic to come back and then set him up with essentially his jet to set a bomb so he could drive it straight in the mouth of Godzilla and pretty much end himself. That person, the mechanic that was there, ends up literally putting in an eject seat for him so that he can do that. We don't know that until later. I kind of knew it. I was like, he's definitely going to do that. So the strategy works. So they sink Godzilla and they rise him back up, and he looks weakened when he comes back up. Oh my goodness. When I tell you the hype at the end, when you know the strategy doesn't work, Godzilla is rearing up for another atomic breath, and Shigashima flies his jet and ejects right before the jet into the mouth. The bomb blows up Godzilla and pretty much sinks him. Oh, we also have a really cool thing earlier in the movie where his girlfriend, I guess you could say, she's not really his girlfriend, I think she will be after this, but she essentially saves him when Godzilla shoots his atomic breath and it like nukes and wipes out. She like pushes him out of the way. Well, she ends up surviving, and then later on in the movie, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here, later on in the movie when she comes back after the post-credits, when she gets a telegram, anyway, she has like some sort of strange markings on her neck, don't know, but it's kind of growing. But anyway, Godzilla gets blown up, and you're like, yes, I care for these people so much. Like, obviously in a lot of Godzilla movies, you root for Godzilla, but in this one, you were like, the people, I need y'all to win. But back to my point, this movie was very, very much like street level. It was the story that was compiled with it, along with the effects on a $15 budget, Skylar. $15 million budget. I don't understand. These big budget studios put $400 million into movies and things like this, and it doesn't look as good as Godzilla Minus One looked. I tell you, this movie looks incredible. And like I said, I'm a big Godzilla fan, but this is my favorite Godzilla movie ever. Like, ever. I think, so Godzilla's Revenge is one of my I rented that movie as a child, like so many different times. Well, I didn't. My parents went and rented it for me. I think we rented it 25 times. Like, why don't you just buy the movie? I don't know, but we just kept renting it over and over, and I loved it so much. And I know that's not one of the best Godzilla movies, but for me, that it was. It had so many different things that happened in it. This movie tops, so like Legendary's Godzilla's King of the Monsters with King Ghidorah and versus Godzilla, that was probably one of my favorite movies. But this movie, in my opinion, just blows it out of the water. Pun intended. Definitely pun intended. But if you haven't seen the movie and you watch this anyway, I'm sorry for spoiling anything, but please go see this movie. Go support movies like this. Movies like this need to see people like, I mean, $15 million budget, and like, it's going to blow that out of the water. Why do I keep saying blow that out of the water? I guess just that stuck in my head right now. But if we support movies like this, support Godzilla movies like this, like, that's what we want to see. This is a Toho. Is it Toho Animation? Anyway, it's a Toho Godzilla movie. So I think the last one they did was Shin Godzilla, which is a really cool one as well. Just, in my opinion, not up to the level of this one. Like, this had story, this had Godzilla, this had... Obviously, it had Godzilla, Skylar, but it had so much more. It had the cinematography, everything put into this movie really made it one where you're just watching this and you're like, masterpiece. Because it was a masterpiece. But yeah, Godzilla Minus One, movie of the year for me. Crazy enough, Godzilla Minus One is the movie of the year for me. And they did it on a $15 million budget. I can't say how much I endorse this movie and want you to go see this movie. You will not be disappointed. You will be wanting more of this universe. And another spoiler alert, like at the end, Godzilla is still like kind of, you know how he regenerates, right? Well, most of his body was like kind of obliterated, but at the very end, we see him reforming. So, room open for a sequel. I just hope they do it right, because this movie could be great as a standalone. It could be great as, obviously, if you want to do a trilogy, whatever you want to do, as many movies as you want to do, you could spin off of this if you make it like this, but it's going to be tough to top that story, because literally it was amazing. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for existing. If there's movies you want me to see, drop in the comments. I would love to give a breakdown. I love movies. It's a big thing about me. So hopefully you enjoy those. But at the end of the day, just thank you for supporting me. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being who you are. And I'll see you next time. It doesn't sound like Godzilla though.